Allow, let's use my camera. Excellent. Oh, let me make this a bit bigger so you can see. Oh, that date is definitely wrong. I didn't realize that, but ignore that. So welcome. Welcome to the HR session of our summer sessions for Gemini AI. Be engaged. So I mentioned this earlier. If you're on Meet, up to you if you want to put your camera on. You don't have to. But the chat at the bottom, if you want to do any notes, please do this. If looks like I'm sharing the wrong window, shout at me, unmute, tell me I'm sharing the wrong window. It happens all the time, and I apologize. You can also chat me if there's any issues or anything like that. I can see them. If you've got questions, we can put them in the questions and answers poll, but there's only 3 people at the moment, so you can stick to chat if you like, no issues there. And if you see a question that's been asked, thumbs up, or you add your own if you like as well. Perfect. Who am I? I'm Pablo Sava. I am here from Devo team. Technically my office is in London Bridge, but I live in Scotland, Edinburgh. So my commute is very long. I don't do it very often. And I've worked with Google Workspace and Google AI Google Workspace for nearly 11 years, which makes me feel very old. And AI since it's been a big deal, basically, or just before then. So we've done a lot of AI projects, and we've done a lot of these Gemini training and pilots as well. Here's my email address as well. If you didn't catch it, I can give it to you afterwards as well. Reach out if you have any questions. Good. A little bit of background on AI. So everyone seems to think it's only in the last 2 years it's blown up. Well, actually, there've been a few companies, and mainly one of them being Google, that have been invested in AI for a long, long time. So back in 2015, there was probably one of my favorite documentaries. So I don't know if you've seen this. Maybe hands up if you've seen this, or emoji up if you like, a hand, or thumbs up. But AlphaGo is the DeepMind, the company that Google bought in machine learning, challenged the world master of Go. That event against DeepMind's AI actually caused a global shortage of Go boards, which was fascinating. It was so impacting. One of the most viewed television live events, more than the Super Bowl. Watch that, get your other half and sit down on the sofa and watch it. I promise it's not too techie, it's very interesting. The other one I really like is DeepMind's eye detect. So in India, they put just a photograph of an eye where they didn't have, these machines where they didn't have doctors in the areas, or lack of doctors. So that photo of the eye could detect if they were getting diabetes, and it would tell them much earlier than they could detect without doing a blood test. So this actually was a really, really positive experiment. That actually ended up they're finding out more than just diabetes. They accidentally found that they could tell if they were going to have heart disease, if they were going to have other issues, just from the photo of an eye. I'm not going to go through all of these, but my whole point here is that Google's been invested in AI for a long time, and they've been dropping snippets of that in the tool set. You'll see Help Me Write and all those other things, Google Assistant in your home device, all those things are all elements of AI, which is great. Okay. Oh, I like this line. I don't know if you've ever heard of this line, but so Steve Jobs. Okay, I see lots of nodding heads. This is good. We're on the same page here. Save even just a few seconds on boot time for for all the people that have a Mac. Then actually that's a few lifetimes of time. I like that, and I think this is applicable again. It's strange how circular the world works, isn't it? Today we can save maybe even more than a few seconds with something like Gemini. And then that's going to save a lot of productivity and time. So they're very applicable. By the way, this is an AI-generated image. That's why the logo is a bit weird, because they're copyright-free, which we'll talk about in just a moment as well. Good. There's a McKinsey study that was done, which actually gave an estimate of quite a substantial amount of money. So McKinsey estimated that the economy could be saving $2.6 trillion to $4.4 trillion annually across just 63 use cases that you can use AI with. I think this is incredible, and that's a lot of money. So if we expanded more than 63 use cases, then your business could be actually not just saving time, but I think there's even more to it. There's increase in quality, increase in staff happiness. I think that's probably the right way of putting it. Oh, I've gone too quickly. So in the next step, I'm going to show you something that's brand new this week. So one thing with AI in the Google world is it's evolving constantly. Day after day, you'll see new features. And just yesterday, I first was able to announce a new feature that came out this week. It's fresh for me as well. Now, this is an alpha, so it's not general release. So if you're working with Devo Team on any of these AI projects, or if Devo Team is introducing Gemini into your environment, we can turn this on for you as an alpha feature. But today you can integrate Docs, Gmail, and other services into gemini.google.com. So I'll talk to you about what gemini.google.com is in just a second. But gemini.google.com is like that same ChatGPT style chat, but you can now integrate it into your Google account, which is fantastic. So that's just out this week, and it's a testament to how fast we're growing. And on that note, I want to talk to you about a quick customer before we go into demos. So we have a customer called Butternut Box. They're a pet food company. And on the left, that very cute dog is an example of their mascot. They have a dog with a scarf, with a red scarf as their mascot. And actually, they said, how can Gen AI and Gemini help me and my business? And we said, well, let's look at image generation, because you've got a really nice mascot there that you can do different marketing schemes. And they said, okay, great. Well, show me that you can generate an image of a dog with a blue scarf on a boat for us to do that marketing scheme for that week. And I said, okay, fine, here it is, as a dog with a blue scarf on a boat. And this was in August of 2023. This is a while ago. And they said, this is really good. I don't have to hire a photographer. I don't have to get a trained dog. I can just really whip some of these out really quickly. So then they bought some licenses. And then they said, I came back to them and said, well, how's that going? That's good. So I said, can we do that same prompt, dog with a blue scarf? Should we try that again? Said, yeah, sure. So a few months later, this is only a few months, 2-3 months later, look at the improvements of these pictures. And this is what I'm talking about. New features, clear, dramatic improvements on prompting, on images. So we can see there's very, very photographic. These are generated. These are not photos. These are 100% not real images that you can use copyright free. So then just before this, I said, I'll do it again. And now we can see a lot more of a dynamic difference in the types of dogs. It's obviously learned a lot more about the features we're asking for. So the evolution of AI is extremely clear here. It's very dramatic and very fast. Good. Okay, I'm going to stop forcing AI down your throats. I know you have to have your daily dose of AI, and we've had the benefits now, and I'm just going to go into what Gemini is and how we can use it for HR. So firstly, I need to explain, we are only focusing on Gemini for Google Workspace. That's this section of the services. So I think Alberto at the beginning I mentioned about what you can do in different areas. So this means that everything in your Google Workspace account can be used with Gemini Google Workspace, but you might be interested in other features, like, for example, you might look at the AI API, so Vertex AI. You might want to look at AI Studio. So AI Studio is building AI on big sets of data. So there's loads of different AI offerings. We only focus on the Google Workspace one today for now, but it doesn't mean we don't do the others. Definitely let us know if you want some more info on the others, okay? Good. Just a quick recap. We did sales, we did marketing, we did procurement, and today we do HR. If you want to look at those recordings, they'll be on our YouTube channel. Please do follow. I really liked I liked all of them, actually. I'm not going to lie. They were all great. Some really interesting use cases. So definitely take a look at those if you want to. But let's go into Gemini for Google Workspace. I'm going to go straight in. So if you enable Gemini for Google Workspace, there are 3 ways to interact with it. There's the inline. So on the left-hand side, you'll see there's a pencil icon, and you can create a response to an email. You can ask it to create something, some context in a document, a blog, whatever you want it to write. There's the side panel. Now, I actually really like the side panel. This has been a very interesting progression in the tool. I'll show you in a second. It's a panel that appears in Drive, Gmail, and all those different services. So one thing that's really nice is a lot of people forget they have Gemini, which I don't like. So the side panel makes it prominent. So it reminds you, hey, I'm here, let me help you. And that has been a very big benefit to people that are using Gemini. And then we've got the fully fledged experience, which is the chatbot. And I'll show you that in a second as well. Actually not going to use that very much in the demo today. We're going to use a lot more of the side panel. Good. Oh, that's the side panel, so you can see it. So you've got your service, and then it's there on the side. And you can use that in Gmail. You can summarize your emails. You can ask it for urgent emails recently, those kinds of things. Oh, I've gone straight into prompting. Why have I done that? Let me just, 1 second, I wanted to do that. Oh, I see. Actually, this is relevant for the demo. So prompting is really important, and you guys will see this when I do the demo. If I just say, give me the CVs that are good for a job, then it's not going to know what the job is. It's not going to know what I care about. It's not going to know what skills I'm looking for. You need to give it context. Just like when you walk up to someone in a party and you say, hey, can you get me a drink? It doesn't know what drink you like. It doesn't know if you're allergic to something. So it's the same thing with Gemini. It needs the context. So give it a role that you are. Define the goal. So what are you looking for? Specify the audience. Is it you? Is it someone who's not very technical? Set any restrictions or styles if you need to, and how you want that outputted. If you do that, it has less assumptions to make. The more assumptions that Gemini needs to make, the less likely you are to get the information you need. This is very critical to AI and prompting in general. Okay, so an example here is, what are some things that you can do with a toddler? You're a early child education specialist. Okay, now that sets the scene as to who's asking. Give me activities for brain development for a toddler. Okay, specific for brain development. This is good. Write it down so that someone who's new to childcare, that's good. So they need all of the steps. Put it in a chart. That's the format we want it. And I don't know why they've done this. Summarize in the style of Jay-Z. Okay, or a poem, whatever you want. Okay. So I think if we keep to those rules, we get some very good outputs. And you'll see that in just a minute as well. That's another example. Right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. So I'm going to change windows and screens in just a second so I can start with Google Drive. While I do that, I'm going to give you the background. So I'm a HR manager here in Devo team, and I have been asked to staff a project. Now, I'm not technical. I don't know the project. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to have to ask someone, what is the project? I don't know what the project is that I need to staff. So they've sent me this, and I'll show you. Oops. Which window am I sharing? Nope, that one. So they sent me this SOW. I said, oh, great, good. So you'll notice that already the side panel is in my face. It's already there, ready for me to go. And if I click the little expand on the summary button here, it's already summarized the document. I haven't touched anything. I just opened the document, and it's already summarized the document for me. Great, I can see what the deliverables are. The project will be conducted under time and materials. The SWOT analysis, that's great. This is everything I need. Now, I'm not technical in this instance, so I have no idea what a GCP cloud computing landing zone is. I have no idea what that is. So I need to really understand who and what skill sets I need. Well, luckily for me, the SOW has got the roles and skill sets required. That's good. So I need a project manager, I need a cloud architect, data engineer. So I need to staff this project. Now, just so I get my head clear, I can say summarize or provide, let's do this, provide a summarized list. Here we go. Of roles and skills required for this SOW. You could put SOW, you could put project, whatever. And I'm not using my prompting rules, but I just wanted to summarize, so nothing too advanced here. So let me just make this bigger as well. I don't know if it's too small for you on the screen. Oh, I can make that bigger, but the side panel doesn't get bigger. So here, I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully, it's not too small. It has given me the project manager, cloud architect. So I didn't have to go through and drill down into the document if I couldn't find it. But it is there. Oh, There we go. Let's do that. I'm just going to zoom in here as well. There we go. You can see it a bit better now. Good. So I've asked it to summarize the document, and it's done that for me. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to want to, let me just, apologies, I've shared the wrong screen. There we go. Now, I know I have a list of CVs. Now, that list of CVs is in my drive. So I'm going to show you where those are. Let me grab that. I open my drive and go to the right folder, and I have a load of CVs. Brilliant. Here we go. CVs for all these different people. I could open each one of them, start hunting down the right skill set, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go one better, and this is where it gets a bit more exciting. Let me make this a bit bigger, and let me zoom in for you a bit as well. Good. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of these files, and I'm going to drop them in here, and I'm going to ask Gemini to look at them. Now, Gemini is going to take a quick scan of everything in there, and I'm only doing this because I want to make sure that Gemini can read them, and Gemini understands what they are. So if I do that, it should give me a summary of what we've got. Might take a few minutes. There is 72 files in there, so give it a second.
Well, meanwhile, is there a limit of files that Gemini can read?
It's a good question. If you asked me that 3 months ago, it was something like 50 or something. But recently, I've been pumping more files in, and it's taking it. So I haven't checked the limit, but it's definitely been increased. But I haven't checked the limit recently. I'd say you're okay for like the 100 to maybe 1,000-ish. But if you've got that many files, you don't need to put it in the side panel. If you've got that many files, you can literally just, without putting them into the side panel, ask Gemini to review CVs or something. You give it a context of what it's looking for, and it will automatically find those files. I'll show you that example in just a few minutes, if that's okay. But if you've got that many files, don't bother putting them in the side panel, basically. So here we go. It's had a look. It said these are resumes or CVs in the Google Slides formats that appear to be of a variety of individuals and skills that have resumes in English while others are in French. I mean, that's more than I even knew, so that's great. If I just open one of these, you'll see the format that they're in. There you go, see? So you've got a full-on resume with everything that they've done, where they've done it before. And it's given some names here. Yes, it does read PDFs, no problem at all. Docs, PDFs, all of that, no problem. So now I can see, and it's given me a really nice, I didn't do this before. This is why I love demos. It's giving me a list of all the names as well. And now it's asking, is there anything specific you'd like to know about the resumes? Actually, there is something I'd like to know, Gemini. Thank you for asking. So now I can say which of these, and I'll just, my spelling is terrible, so I'm going to copy my prompt. I'm sorry. So in here, I can ask, which of these CVs would be a good fit for the roles in the project? And watch this. If I do the @ symbol, I can go find the project now, GCP Landing Zone project. So you can @ files in here. And now what that's going to do is it's going to read the document, look for the roles, and then match the roles according to what's I've asked for it to look through here. So let's go for it. Which of these CVs is a good fit for the roles in this project? This is the bit I'm nervous about. It has worked once or twice. Let's see. It's good, and sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes it doesn't work first time, mainly because of the prompt. You kind of have to rethink how you ask the question, but it worked. Oh, there you go. Oh, this is lovely. Look at this. So here we now have, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Here we can see that it has come into, so it's looked at project managers. It says actually, Oriana is very good at project management. This person's a senior. For cloud architect, it said Arturo is actually a strong candidate. This is really, really, really good. Obviously, please don't take this as gospel. I mean, there's what we haven't done here, and this is really important. there's been some assumptions. Gemini will always make assumptions. It will assume that you are looking for someone who's strong in cloud architecture, but it won't know if you have other requirements. Maybe you as a business, maybe your business has certain rules and aspects to follow, like really good team leadership has to be included in every CV. Gemini's not going to know this, right? So that's where you have to do the conversation. You can say, I'm looking for someone, but in my case, Devo team, it's very important that everyone has fun in their projects. Maybe select people that have done extracurricular activities as well as having the requirements. So you need to really build that use case. Remember that Gemini is a conversational AI. You can have that conversation and it will take that into account when it does its prompts. Good. So now we've got that, we can actually copy it, we can port it into a document, and we can just take that as next steps. I would definitely spot check these, by the way. Good. Right. So the next one, I really like the next one. Let me just move this in. Let's say we've chosen someone. Let's say actually project manager. I've got 2 CVs for project manager. Okay, I'm going to need to do interviews. So how do we do that? So in the Google Workspace world, we use Meet. So hopefully you've used that before. I'm going to share a slide because actually sharing this Meet is a bit awkward. Let's just do it on the slide. Good. So in Google Meet, you have, you can actually see it in R1. At the top, you'll see a pencil. And in that pencil, you've got an option to start taking notes, but you also have an option in Google Meet to start transcribing. So there's 2 options you can do. Very importantly, you need to understand the difference. If you ask Gemini to take notes, which I'll do now actually, I'll start taking notes. So if I click that button in this call right now that you guys are in, you'll see at the top right, the icon has changed, and you hear a ding, and that's Gemini is now listening to our conversation, so the actual AI bot. And is taking into consideration everything we're saying. Gemini notes are only going to do a high level, so I say only going to do, they're going to understand the context of what we're talking about, and it's going to put bullet point notes as to what we've discussed and who's discussed it. Depending on the size of the call and how much, there'll be more or less content in there. The other thing I absolutely love is that Gemini's note-taking is going to understand if I've assigned an action and to who. So I could say, Alberto, you need to buy me a coffee tomorrow. And then it's going to come up in Gemini Notes as an action item for Alberto to buy Pablo a coffee. And it's understanding that because it's not transcribing, it's understanding the conversation and the context and writing notes accordingly. So Gemini Notes will always be shorter, more condensed, and to the point, basically, what you want to see. So Gemini Notes is a replacement of someone actively taking notes in a call. Transcribe, however, which is a separate thing, which isn't part of Gemini, you can do that with Meet. If you transcribe a call, that takes every single word that's said by every single person in a big document. In fact, it will look something like, let me just go and grab my transcription. Yeah, this one. Oh yes, I've got way too many windows open. Bear with me a second. Perfect. Here, let's go in here. Clear that. Perfect. And share my screen. Stop presenting. So this is what a transcript would look like. Not Gemini Notes, but a transcript. But for an interview, I think a transcript is much more important. And the reason for that is because you can come back to a transcript, have a look at what's been said, and you can pinpoint those things for answers and things like that. So obviously you ask for permission, and then you do your interview with a transcript enabled, and you've got everything that's been said. What that means is that Gemini's side panel will summarize the interview. So I was being interviewed here. So Pablo is being interviewed for GCP architect role at Devo team to create a certain thing. So it's already got that from the conversation. He emphasizes out of the box thinking. No, I haven't clicked anything. I've just opened the transcript. Gemini has already summarized what's happened in this interview. But it gets even better. So I now have the task to review this interview. So I'm going to ask Gemini for some context and some more details in the interview. So if I do that, let me just show you what I'm going to do. Oops, where is it? Oh, here we go. So let me grab this. In here, I really, really like this, by the way, because it's not just good for HR interviews, it's good for other interviews. I can ask, what is the sentiment of the candidate being interviewed called Pablo, and how confident is he about his answers? Now, I don't know about you, but when you do a wrap up for an interview when there's more than one person, you always like, oh no, I think he's really confident. Oh, I don't know. I think he struggled with this topic. And actually, I'd like to see what Gemini comes back with based on the transcript of what was said, not the tone, because you don't get that in the transcript, but more about what was said. So in here, he's presents general. He's very confident in his response, demonstrates that his willingness to share unconventional approach to problem solving. And sandwich making, because I am very good at sandwich making in my interview. I emphasized that. But it goes into a bit more about confidence seems to waver in certain moments. For instance, he mentions he struggles with social interaction and tendency to become nervous when working with others. So, okay, now we're starting to get a bit more in here. So I'm going to show you something here, which I think is even better. So when you're asking Gemini for some context of something, sometimes you don't know what to ask for. If you've not read the whole document, you don't know what you need to ask for. Gemini's suggestions are really, really good sometimes. So it's suggesting here that I ask what the out-of-the-box thinking, what the answer to that question was. So I'm curious now. I didn't realize there was a question about out-of-the-box thinking. So let's have a look. What did Pablo answer to the question, how is your out-of-the-box thinking? So Pablo mentions that his out-of-the-box thinking led to successful outcomes for his sandwich creations. It wasn't, he doesn't provide specific examples of how it translates to his work in GCP. This is great. Like, Gemini is doing the analytics for me in how this interview has gone, where the weaknesses are, where they aren't. I haven't actually asked specifically about his weaknesses, but let's do that. Actually, let's go for here. Let's say, what does Pablo state his weaknesses are, and how would he overcome them? So now I'm going to start digging a bit deeper into the interview. There we go. Pablo states his weaknesses are his antisocial behavior and difficulty handling situations where he feels overwhelmed. By the way, this is a fake interview. I don't think I'm antisocial. So he says he sits in the dark corner in a room with a hoodie that others would need to queue one by one to talk to him. That would be a big problem in our project. Not a team player. So I've actually gone through, we can go through and analyze this further. I can keep going. I find this quite fun. But my point here is that you can give a list of clear, are they able to do this? Are they able to do that? What do they have as a weakness? And you get this outcome from the transcript in Gemini. So I think this is a huge time saver, if I'm honest. I really like this. And you can export this as well. So if I click this button here, it'll insert it into the existing document, or I can copy it and put it into another document as well. Really, really importantly, the Gemini side panel is non-empirical. Basically, it disappears. So if you close the window, close the document, or refresh the window, all of the chat history goes away. And so all of the memory goes away as well. Please remember this. Gemini is not learning as a whole on your account. It only learns in that window. So if you've given it context of who you are, who the business is, all this stuff, and then you ask questions, you refresh, all of that is gone. It does not remember that. It's like Groundhog Day for poor Gemini every time you refresh the web page, right? It doesn't remember everything. So if you need that context, you need to keep that context, please take it out. I'm going to give you another option here for like transcripts as well. So I could take this, let's do all, copy this to my clipboard, and I go to Gemini gemini.google.com. Okay, now this is the Gemini interface. This one does have a memory, but in a particular way. It has a memory in each chat. So if I go back to the chats I've done before, so you'll see here I've got AI powered cake creation. It can see all the previous prompts I've done. I can go back and edit those prompts. Any context I've given it is still there in that chat, and I can carry on. But there's no memory across the different chats I've got saved. Okay. So if I create a new chat, I can say, actually, can you provide a sentiment for Pablo in the following transcript? So I can do this from clipboard. So I can ask the question and I say, here's the transcript. And it will do the same thing as I did in side panel, except the difference here is I've got this saved. So now it's saved in gemini.google.com. Open it up in my phone. I can open it up on another computer and carry on asking about questions about this interview. So you'll see that it comes there very, very well. You can also do an integration now. This is the new thing I talked about this week, the new feature. So I can say, are you able to provide strengths, weaknesses. Oh, my spelling is terrible. This is why I copy my prompts most of the time. Strengths and weaknesses. Oh, I can do spelling mistakes, by the way. I just don't like doing them in demos in case it doesn't work. Are you able to provide strengths and weaknesses for the interview between Thomas and Pablo in, and I can do at Google Drive. I'm hoping it doesn't find some other random interview. It should find the interview I need. It's going to look through the documents, and it can also access that document in Drive now as of this week. Again, alpha, so you need to have alpha. There you go, out of the box thinking, creativity, it's gone and found that as well. So you've got multiple ways of doing the same thing if you like. I actually quite like the side panel because you can review the document that you're talking about in the side panel, but remember it goes away. Or you can do it in Gemini and come back to it later and keep adding to it and giving it more context. Maybe you have a second interview, you can say, here's the second interview, what else do you think? So there's that piece too. I want to pause for a second. I have a question. I like questions. So Julio, what question can I answer?
Yes. Hello, Pablo. I have one question. Well, I have two questions. The first one is, for example, going back to your example about the CV screening and just reading the CVs, is it possible, instead of dragging all the CVs to Gemini, for example, asking Gemini to read, I don't know, imagine you have a folder in Drive with some files, it depends on the day, and just to say Gemini to read all the files in the Drive. Imagine that today maybe there are 5, tomorrow 6, and just so instead of dragging all the files, just...
You don't need to drag all the files, you're right. So there's two reasons I drag the files in demos. Firstly, one, this is my main account, and there's a lot of stuff I don't want you to see. So by dragging the files, I can pinpoint what it's going to talk about. But in general, and then let me switch to another account, which is a demo account. So I don't have anything sensitive in there. Let me just do that now. You don't need to pinpoint any files in Gemini side panel at all. You can ask it context. In fact, actually, I can show you that here. So let me go to 2 seconds. I'm just gonna have to find one without actually showing you the content. So bear with me. Let's go in here. Just 2 seconds. Public facing. Here we go. So in this page, so it doesn't matter what's here. I'm just showing you, this is a safe folder for me to show. Ignore what's on here. I'm not going to be specific to that. So if I open this up, and then I can ask, without asking specific, look in a specific folder, without asking it to look in a specific place, I can say, what CSS, Google Workspace CSS offerings do Devo team provide to customers? Now, I'm asking this question with no pointer as to where to look, and it's going to hunt that down in anything I have access to in Google Drive. So if I have access to a shared drive, if I have access to something in my drive, it's going to find those. If I hit enter on that one, you'll see here. Now, why I like this most is if you have contracts with lots of customers. Let's say you have a new salesperson that's just joined the team. They have access to everything because they've been onboarded, and they have been given a customer, customer X. Now, they can go into the side panel and drive and say, what existing contracts do we have with customer X? Now, as long as they have been shared, the customer's drive, then they will be able to see the content of those, of that, those content, and it will surface those. So in here, it's actually come back with the details of the offerings in my slide decks that showed me where I got them from. And I can go into a bit more details here as well. So I have not told it where those are. It has looked for them in my entire drive. In fact, this top one isn't in this folder. It's somewhere else in my drive, and this one is in this folder. So it is going to look through the indexed drive files as well. So you don't have to do specific at all. Okay.
Okay. But and if you want to be specific and ask for a specific folder, so search for all the files in this folder and read them and give some conclusions.
Yeah, you can't add a folder, so you can't do. So you can add. So I can say summarize.
All the summarize, for example, summarize all the files in this folder. Is that possible?
I can't. No, I can't. So I can't do that. No. What I can do is I can summarize the contents of all these files. So if I go to the folder and I grab all the files in the folder and drag it in, then I can say summarize the content. It's the same thing, right?
But you cannot. No, it's because this comes with my second question that I don't know if it is possible, but it is possible to trigger Gemini. So, for example, let's say whenever I receive an email or whenever someone presses a button or whatever, just ask a question and to summarize all the files that are in this specific folder. In that,
so you don't need to do that. So when you, let me just refresh this page. If you open an email, it will show you a summary of those that email, but you can't do it for multiple. It won't ever show you by default the summary for multiple files. So you see here, I've got no summary, but if I open up a document, so let's open up this one, for example. So if you open up a file, document, or email thread, it will summarize what's in that file, document, or email thread here. But if you've got just a page of like your inbox or drive and all the files, it won't summarize all the files. There's too many calls at one go.
Okay. No, but that was not. So that's good to know. But my question was more like, I don't know. Anytime something happens in Google, let's say you receive an email, someone press a button in a Google Sheet or whatever. If it is possible to trigger a process with Gemini, so no one asking, but just to prompt the question to Gemini, let's say like in an automatically way, not someone just doing the question, but just have some code on the back end that says that when I receive an email from this person, go to Gemini automatically and ask this question. Is that possible?
No, but I'm also really. Let's pause on that one. I'll come back at the end because I'm a little bit confused because that's not the context you want to use Gemini in, if that makes sense. It's not proactive, it's reactive that we want to use AI because you have to design the prompt.
Okay.
That's going to be, it's going to come back with really bad results if we do that.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Go ahead, Alberto.
Yes, in order to summarize a document, it is mandatory that the document is inside of Google Drive, or it could be the document in an external memory.
No, it has to be in Google Drive with one exception. If you use gemini.google.com, very soon, not just yet, but very, very soon, you'll be able to upload a drive to your conversation, file, sorry, to your conversation. So let me show you what I mean. In general, all files that Gemini learns from and accesses need to be somewhere in the drive. With the exception of if you're having a specific conversation with Gemini, there will be a new button very soon that you can click attach and you can upload it just for the sole purpose of this conversation. But otherwise, yes, they need to be in Google Drive. Julio, do you have your hand up from before or is that another question?
No, yes, it was from before,
perfect,
sorry.
Perfect. No, that's right. Okay, good. So where were we? Oh, yes. So we're going back to the interview process. So we've done. I think this candidate is okay, it's possible. I mean, I don't like his weaknesses, but I think we can do it. We can do this. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a new document. So open up the new tab and go doc.new. Now, normally, I would draft an email in Gmail, but actually, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go into a Google Doc. You can do this in Gmail, by the way, by all means, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I actually prefer this method a lot better. So you can go in here and you can say, draft an email. No, actually, I have just not followed my own prompting. So as the HR manager here at DevoTeam, I have conducted a number of interviews and chosen the correct or the most suitable candidate. So here's the prompting rules. I've given it background. I'm explaining what I'm doing. Now I'm going to ask, please draft an email explaining to Pablo that he has been accepted for the role of, was it GCP architect, wasn't it? Yep. The architect, and I probably didn't have to put GCP architect because it's in the document I'm about to use. Provide some feedback based on, and then look, what should I do here? Based on at, and I can put, what was it called? Help doing interview. There we go. So I'm asking Gemini here to draft me an acceptance email, but I want to put a little bit more juice into it. So I'm saying you need to provide some feedback based on the interview we did. I wouldn't actually do this. I'd probably do it based on some notes, follow-up notes that we've written. But let's see how that works. It's a bit sluggish this morning, but we'll get there. There we go. So subject, job offer for GCP architect position. Hope this finds you well. Let's actually put this in. I'm going to click insert. And I want you to see it's also done a variable, which is a smart chip in Google Docs. So you can change those if you want to. It's gone ahead and done some much more in there in detail in there and than you would expect. It's talking about what the job is, where it is, the position. We understand you have specific working style preferences, happy to accommodate your needs. It's actually gone in and given quite a good flavor of an email. Another way you can do this, by the way, is if you're not planning to do reference of a file. Let me just close this for a sec. Where is this gone? My pencil. You're right. Oh, remove the pencil. There's the help me write as well. Let me just delete all this. Control delete. Let me there. No. I have to sign a new document. Bear with me. So if you also start a new document, you see a bar at the top, and that bar at the top, you can click help me write. If I click that button, you can also write the same kind of prompt here. So draft an email explaining to Pablo that he has got the GCP architect role. Now it's going to be slightly different, this one, because it's not using the file that I'm tagging into to do the draft. But what I like about this one is it will put it into what's called the Gmail Smart Chip, and I can refine it as well. So I can go in here, I can customize it and say, actually make it more formal, make it less formal, change the tone, write into a poem. And let's say I can say, add some, keep the same content, but add emojis. Let's see what happens. And then it's going to redraft my email, but add emojis. There we go. I like this one. So then you can review the different versions, which is really nice, and then hit insert. And there we go. I've got my email draft ready to go. So I'm going to show you another option, if you bear with me a second. Oops, where is it? It's in here. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to open up the mailbox in here. Oh no, it has to be on here. This one. So I know I've got an email in here, but ignore that email there. It's just a dummy email. If I hit compose at the top, and I'll make this bigger so you can see, hopefully, I'll zoom in actually. Just do that. There we go. In here, you'll see I can help me write. So I can do the help me write exactly the same way I did it in the document, and it's going to do exactly the same thing. But actually, if I wanted to, and let's say I'm replying to the candidate's initial one, I can do the side panel here. And then I can say exactly the same as I did before, draft an email telling Pablo he got the job with some details. Oops. And then here we go. I can do @ symbol from Gmail, and I can say help. There we go. Help to the interview. So now side panel is going to draft my email that I can put straight into an email here as well. Or I can do the help me write. So the side panel in Gmail is really helpful. Also, the side panel in Gmail is going to be able to surface responses to jobs, for example. So actually, as part of the demo, I didn't actually think about planning, which is if you've got a job posting and you've got lots of emails in reply to that job posting, the side panel can surface those emails. So if you say, show me all emails of people that have responded to certain job posting, it will show you just those. It's like a really advanced Gmail search, if you like. But here's the email it's done as well, which is very similar to before. And I can copy that into my email just here, which is great. Okay, I haven't got much time left, so I'm just going to do a bit on security, and then we will pause for questions as well. So stop presenting there. Right, where were we? Oh, I didn't mention Gmail Gemini also works on mobile, which is great. Good. Okay, so present this tab. Do we just turn it on? So you're thinking, okay, I could use this. This could be useful for my job. Let's see if we get this turned on for people that are in my role. But hold on, because we didn't just turn on the World Wide Web and the internet. It didn't just get used on day one. We need to consider how we use it. I already talked about the art of prompting. I would talk about adoption, which is really important. What we're finding is that many businesses that just simply turn it on, most people don't invest those 5 minutes of time to look at how they can use AI, and that's really important for your staff. So computers, this is the important part, the mentality part. When you turn it on, there's something in us that has been taught and drilled into us since we were young that computers are good at maths. That's what they are, they're computing, right? But actually, AI, there's emotion, opinion, and assumptions now. And that's what we're not used to understanding computers can do. So what you'll often find is people will think, oh no, I won't use Gemini for that. It's a computer, it's not going to understand that. But it will, and that's the difference, right? Today, computers do understand a lot more than they ever used to. And so there's a mentality change here. So we need to learn how to change our habits as to when we get help with work. We're very used to just doing the work, the grunt work, because we assume computers can't do it. That's actually not right. So, oh, I've spelled step wrong. So much like the first version of AI, we need to change the trajectory and how we achieve things today, right? When do we use AI in our day-to-day work? This is a really good book you can find online, and I can also link the URL to you. Actually, The Art of Prompting. So when I get someone saying, oh, I did use AI to try and fix this or do this task for me, but it didn't work, the first thing I come back and ask is, what was your prompt? Because actually, about 80 to 90% of the time, it will be the prompt and redesigning that prompt that will make it more of a successful output from AI. So the art of prompting is definitely one of those very, very good reads. If you're traveling, if you're on the plane, definitely worth a read. It's not just for Google Gemini, it's for all kinds of AI prompting. Security aspects of things. So Google do not include adverts. That's just a given. These are all the Google Workspace sides of things as well. So your data is yours and no one else's. You stay in control, and there's always accessibility. So it's 99.9% uptime. This is important. I didn't get this question already, so I'm quite surprised I didn't get it. When you ask Gemini to find a file or a context or a piece of data, it's going to go through all files you have access to in Drive to find that file. Now, it does not have access to all files in your environment. It only has access to the files in your account. So this is the account boundary, this solid blue line. So if you, as a person, your account does not have access to a sheet, Gemini will not be able to use it in its prompt. So it's confined to what your ACLs are, what your permissions are. I like to think of it as the assistant on my shoulder. It has exactly the same view as I have for everything, but it's a bit quicker at thinking because I'm a bit slow and I haven't had a coffee. So that's how the security aspect works. There are elements where it might come into the wider piece if there are files shared with domain, for example. Then it will look at the files that are shared with domain. But it's all just according to your account settings security. It follows all the Google Workspace security rules and restrictions. And the most important thing is that Gemini does not teach the public learning model with your data. You have a sandboxed one-way in, so things that are taught on the public one, you get advantage of, but anything you put into gemini.google.com or the side panel will not teach the public learning model. This is important. If you're looking at salaries, if you're looking at CVs, you don't want those being learnt and used for the public learning model. So and that's with the license only. If you turn on consumer Gemini, you will teach the public learning model. So if you do not have a license and you use Gemini, that will teach the public learning model. That means that there will be some data leakage of whatever you're putting in there onto the public learning model. That's very, very important. License, put whatever data you want in there, it's yours. No license, teaching the public learning model. That's the very big difference. Okay? So just a really small recap. Paid for Gemini does not have access to anything you shouldn't have access to by your account. It uses the data just within your account or environment and doesn't get any extra access. It also doesn't use your data for public learning model. Data storage is within your account, so it's the exact same rules as Google Workspace. So it follows the exact same architecture and same rules for data storage as Google Workspace. Yeah, and your prompts are private, 100% private. So down to the account. So even your environment administrator cannot see what prompts each user has put into Gemini. They are totally private to the account. So you can go and look for your medical conditions or whatever you want in Gemini. No one's going to know apart from whoever's logged into your account as you. Okay? And it does follow DLP as well. Good. Oh, I didn't show you the image generation. It doesn't really apply for HR. No problem. But there is image generation. Image generation in Gemini is 100% copyright free. So you can use them in your public materials. If you have any challenges, Google will take responsibility of copyright challenges if you've used a Gemini image. And all of these interactions are, like I said, within your account and your environment. Good. There's literally like 1 minute for questions. So I'm going to pause and see if there's anything that anyone wants me to answer.
Thank you, Pablo. Not questions from my side.
Oh, okay.
That's from my side. Many thanks for this.
Okay. Was it useful, guys? Did you find it interesting?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
I think it's useful, but I think that also Gemini needs to improve some. So it is evolving and it needs to improve a bit, no?
Yeah, so the presentation was useful. The use of Gemini for what we need is not yet there.
Well, just remember, and this is really important, there is more than one Gemini. There's Gemini for Google Workspace, so there's no APIs, no integrations to third parties. But it doesn't mean there's not a use for Gemini. We have really cool projects, very cool projects, to integrate AI into existing business data sets, if you like. So we have a hotel that we've made a bot that they can ask who's working at what hotel, when is what hotel open, all those kinds of things. And that's very specific to the business. So this is an out-of-the-box AI that everyone can just get started with. But if there's a need to make more bespoke interactions to AI, so what you said, Julio, if you need something that reacts to an item, that doesn't mean we can't do that, and Google can't do that with their tool set. It's just not in license for Google Workspace. So if you needed to have a conversation with our AI specialists for the AI in Gemini Vertex AI, then more than happy to do that if you want to make something bespoke. Yeah?
Okay, good to know that.
That's good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll let you go and have a great weekend.
So, okay, it's good for you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.